Hello, inner shifters, how you doing? Your host, Sophia here. All right, friend, let's talk about something that can shift not just the look of your space, but the feel of your life, clearing your physical space. Now I know that when people hear detox your life, they often think first about green juice or digital breaks or dramatic changes. But the truth is, so much transformation can begin with something beautifully tangible and immediate: your environment. The stuff around you. The shelves, the floor, the closet you've been pretending not to notice. Because clutter isn't just mess, it's energy, it's memory. It's emotions sitting in a corner of your home saying, "You still haven't dealt with me." I had a friend named Clara who used to describe her apartment as my emotional garage. There were piles of clothes from seasons past, unopened mail stacked like leaning towers on the kitchen counter, and a junk drawer that was more of a junk cabinet. She said it overwhelmed her, but she didn't know where to start. Every time she looked around, she'd just shut down and scroll her phone to escape. But one night, something shifted. She'd had a rough day at work, nothing dramatic, just a string of little things that made her feel invisible and out of control. When she got home, she kicked off her shoes and they landed on a pile of books she hadn't touched in a... And she just sat on the floor, stared at those books and whispered, "This is not who I am." That whisper, that's how it begins. Not with a major overhaul or a life-altering decision. With one whisper. One quiet moment of truth. And for Clara, it led to something miraculous. Not because her apartment became Instagram perfect overnight, but because she chose to do one small thing. She picked up those books, dusted them off, and donated them the next day. That action was like pulling a single thread that began to unravel something heavy. One drawer at a time, one corner at a time, she started reclaiming her space. And her sense of self. There's science behind why that felt so good. The Princeton Neuroscience Institute ran a study showing that physical clutter in your surroundings competes for your attention, resulting in decreased performance and increased stress. Basically, the mess isn't just messy, it's mentally draining. It's like background noise your brain can't quite tune out. You ever feel overwhelmed just walking into a room with too much stuff? That's not laziness. That's neurology. But here's the good news: just as clutter builds stress, clearing it creates space for calm. And not just visually, emotionally too. It reminds me of another friend, Mateo, who was grieving a relationship. They'd been together for years, and after the breakup, he couldn't bring himself to touch any of their shared items. The mugs they bought together, the records they danced to, the jacket they left behind. For months, everything just sat there thick with memory. Until one day he said, "I need to breathe again." And slowly, tenderly, he started letting go. Not from anger, from love, from self-love. He kept one photo that made him smile, and gave the rest away. And each object he released felt like a breath, tightness softening, grief transforming into space. Decluttering isn't about becoming a minimalist monk or obsessing over a capsule wardrobe. It's about asking yourself, does this item reflect who I am now? Does it serve my life today? Does it bring ease, beauty, purpose, or at least neutrality? If not, it might be time to lovingly let it go. And listen, I get it. Some things are hard to part with. That dress you never wore, but keep in case you someday go to that kind of party. The papers from that course you have finished. The craft supplies from a hobby you thought you'd fall in love with. Those things aren't just objects, they're symbols of hopes. Of past versions of you. Letting them go can feel like saying goodbye to a dream. But here's the truth: you don't need those items to honor who you were. You honor yourself by making space for who you're becoming. There's even psychological language for this. Researchers talk about the extended self, how we project identity onto our belongings. And when our environment doesn't evolve with us, we feel stuck. But when we realign our space, we reinforce our current sense of identity. We tell our brain, this is who I am now. And that is powerful. You don't have to wait until your life is perfect to deserve a space that reflects peace. You don't have to be organized or tidy by nature. All you need is a little willingness, a little curiosity, a little grace. Maybe you start with a single drawer, one you've avoided for years. You open it, and instead of judgment, you bring compassion. Hey, old receipts. Hey, expired coupons. Thanks for your service. And then out they go. Or maybe you start with the visible stuff. Your nightstand, the spot on the kitchen counter that collects keys and chaos. You take 10 minutes, just 10. And when it's done, you exhale. Lighter, quieter, more you. One of the most moving stories I ever heard was from Sophia, who had battled severe anxiety for most of her adult life. She said her apartment mirrored her mind, cluttered, chaotic, unpredictable. But during recovery, her therapist invited her to treat her space as part of her healing. They didn't call it cleaning. They called it returning home. Bit by bit, Sophia brought order to her kitchen, added light to her living room. She lit a candle each night to signal peace. And slowly, something softened. I realized, she told me, that I deserve to live in a space where I feel safe. That made me cry. Because don't we all? You deserve to come home to calm. You deserve a space that says, welcome back, I've been waiting for you. And it's not about perfection, it's about intention. I'm not asking you to throw everything away or create a minimalist dreamscape. I'm inviting you to look around with kindness. To ask, does this make me feel good? Does this add to my life or weigh it down? And when the answer is clear, let that clarity be your compass. Letting go can be emotional. You might laugh, cry, feel exhausted, or energized. That's normal. You're not just clearing space. You're rewriting a story. You're unburdening the you who thought they had to hold on to everything to be wholes. A spoiler alert, you do. You are allowed to release the old versions of yourself. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to live in a space that matches your current joy, clarity, softness, and truth. So go ahead, pick up one thing right now, just one, and decide, do I want to keep carrying this? And if you do, let it go with love. With thanks, with dignity. Because you are not the clutter. You are not the past. You are the beautiful unfolding of now. And your space, it gets to reflect that. Every drawer, every shelf, every piece of light you make room for. I've been looking forward to this one. Let's talk about what it really means to audit your digital habits, not from a place of judgment or guilt, but from this quiet, powerful place of self-awareness. Because your digital life, it's a room you spend so much time in. Might as well make sure it feels like home, right? I want you to imagine your phone, your inbox, your notifications, your scroll habits as an ecosystem. Every like, follow, tap, click, it all adds something to that environment. And little by little, without even realizing it, we build this mental atmosphere around ourselves. Sometimes it's bright and inspiring, full of people and ideas that expand us. But other times, it gets heavy. Kind of like a garden no one's pruned in a while. And suddenly, you find yourself comparing, doom scrolling, feeling drained, but unable to look away. That's not failure. That's design. The platforms we use every day, they're built to keep us hooked. Not connected, not inspired, hooked. Which is why doing a digital audit isn't just a nice idea, it's a form of self-preservation. It's how you reclaim your own attention, your own agency, your own peace. I had a friend named Mateo who realized one day that every time he opened his phone, his chest would tighten. Not from a specific post or person, but just the volume of it all, the pressure, the noise. So we sat together and started small. He unfollowed accounts that didn't make him feel good, even ones he felt obligated to. He unsubscribed from newsletters that cluttered his inbox. He changed his phone background to something soothing. And slowly, his phone stopped feeling like an enemy. It became a tool again. A space he curated instead of one that was constantly curating him. There's a term in behavioral psychology called digital load. It refers to the cumulative weight of managing too many digital inputs: emails, messages, alerts, ads. That load activates the brain's stress response, flooding you with cortisol and reducing your ability to focus or feel calm. In fact, a study from the University of California, Irvine found that it can take up to 23 minutes to fully return to a task after a digital interruption. That's not distraction, it's displacement. Your times, your energy, your creativity, all getting siphoned off by things that don't actually matter to you. But here's the most empowering part: you can change it. And not by deleting your entire digital life and moving to the woods, unless you want to. Zero judgment. It starts with asking questions like, does this feed me or drain me? Do I follow this person because I feel inspired or because I feel I'm supposed to? Do I check my phone to connect or to numb? I knew a woman named Clara who kept seeing fitness content that left her feeling ashamed rather than motivated. One day, she realized that she didn't actually choose to follow those accounts. They just showed up in Explore and she'd clicked. So she unfollowed. Replaced them with people talking about body neutrality, joyful movement, self-compassion. And everything shifted. She said, now when I scroll, I feel like I'm coming back to myself instead of away from me. That's the goal. It's not about disconnecting entirely. It's about making intentional connections. Choosing what gets access to your headspace. Choosing when and how you engage. Turning off push notifications. Leaving group chats that constantly buzz but rarely bring joy. Setting downtime on your apps. Even something as small as charging your phone outside the bedroom. So the last thing you see at night and the first thing you wake up to isn't a screen, but your life. Digital detox doesn't mean silence. It means sovereignty. And honestly, the peace that comes from a clean inbox, a tidy home screen, a social feed full of people who uplift rather than deplete, it's tangible. It's felt, it's quiet, and sometimes in a world that's so loud, quiet is the most radical act of all. So take a look slowly. One account at a time. One notification at a time. Ask yourself not just, do I need this, but who am I becoming when I give this my attention? Because your attention is your currency. Spend it like it matters. Because you matter. This one is close to the heart because it's not just about food or habits. It's about how we treat ourselves. Let's talk about what it really means to nourish your body gently, especially when you're thinking about detoxing your life. Because nourishment isn't just about smoothies and salads, it's about listening in. It's about trading harsh rules for deep care. And maybe, just maybe, remembering that your body is not the problem. We live in a world that constantly pushes extremes, clean eating, fasting windows. No sugar, no carbs, do this, avoid that, guilt here, shame there. It's overwhelming and exhausting. And worst of all, it disconnects us from the simplest truth: your body is wise. Your body is always speaking. And nourishing yourself starts when you start listening again. I had a friend named Clara who used to start every Monday with a new set of rules. No bread, no snacks, gym every day. By Wednesday, she felt exhausted. By Friday, she felt guilty. Why can't I stick to anything, she'd say. But it wasn't about willpower, it was about burnout. It was about approaching her body like it was something to be controlled instead of supported. So we flipped the question. Instead of how can I change my body, we asked, how can I take care of it today? And suddenly everything softened. She drank water in the morning not because she had to, but because her body felt better that way. She ate warm food when she was tired, went for walks when she was anxious, and without punishment or plans, her body started coming back to life. There's a beautiful field of research around this called intuitive eating, a non-diet approach that emphasizes trust in your body's internal cues for hunger, fullness, satisfaction, and emotional needs. Studies show that people who adopt intuitive eating habits report lower levels of disordered eating, greater body satisfaction, and improved mental health. It's not about restriction, it's about reconnection. And let's talk about guilt because it's so common. So many of us eat something off-plan and spiral into shame. But food isn't a morality test. You are not a better person because you ate a salad. You are not a worse person because you had dessert. Food is information, fuel, pleasure, culture, comfort. It's okay to crave all of that. You're allowed. My friend Mateo once told me, I used to eat kale and hate myself the whole time. We laughed, but it was real. Because nourishment without kindness isn't healing. It's just another form of pressure. But when he started asking what would feel good in my body today, he noticed something wild. Some days it was kale. Some days it was a sandwich in the sunshine with his favorite chips. And both days were good days because he fed himself with care, not compliance. And listen, movement is part of nourishment too. But not punishment movement, not burn it off workouts. I'm talking about the kind that makes you feel alive. Dancing in your living room, stretching in bed, hiking with music in your ears. A body that's been treated with compassion starts craving more movement, not to shrink, but to express itself. There's something powerful that happens when you say, I'm not going to wait until I deserve rest or good food or movement that feels joyful. I'm going to give it to myself now. That moment, that's when you stop managing your body and start befriending it. And science backs it all up. A 2019 study published in Health Psychology found that people who practiced self-compassion around their eating and body image were significantly more likely to make sustainable health choices, not out of fear, but out of respect. That's the game changer. When you treat your body like it matters, it starts responding in kind. So what does gentle nourishment look like today? Maybe it's eating regularly instead of skipping meals. Maybe it's drinking water because you're parched, not because an app told you to. Maybe it's letting go of the idea that your meals have to be perfect. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to enjoy the food you love. You don't have to overhaul your life. You don't have to follow a new plan. You just need to ask your body one sacred question. What do you need from me today, sweet friend? And then, as best you can, you answer. You're doing more right than you know. Let the guilt go, let your kindness lead. That's nourishment, that's detox, that's love in motion. Let's talk about something that seems so simple on the outside, but cuts right to the heart of how we protect our peace and grow into our fullest selves. Reassessing your relationships. Now I know that can sound intimidating, like it's about making big decisions or cutting people off. But honestly, most of the time it starts much more quietly than that. It starts with noticing, with listening, with asking the brave question, how do I feel when I'm around this person? Do I shrink or do I rise? That's what this part of detoxing your life is about, releasing what's heavy, not having it. You don't need a villain in the story. Sometimes we outgrow connections. Sometimes relationships evolve and no longer match who we're becoming. And that doesn't make anyone bad, it just makes you brave enough to notice. Let's get something clear up front. Reassessing your relationships isn't just about cutting people out. It's about making room for softness, for reciprocity. For people who celebrate your joy instead of feeling threatened by it. Who listen when you speak and remember what matters to you. You deserve relationships that feel like sunlight, not shadow. And the science, it's fascinating. There's this brilliant study from Harvard, part of the longest-running longitudinal study on adult development, that found the number one predictor of happiness and longevity isn't money or career success or even physical health. It's the quality of your relationships. Not the quantity, the quality. In fact, the people who were most satisfied in their relationships at age 50 were the healthiest at age 80. That's how deep this runs. The people you let close, they shape your stress levels, your immune system, your brain chemistry. So here's a gentle invitation: take inventory. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. Who makes you feel more alive? Who helps you breathe easier? Who do you trust with your messiest truths? Lean into those connections. And for the ones that feel heavy, ask yourself, is there room for shift here? A boundary, a pause, a loving release. This isn't about perfection. It's about protection of your joy, your energy, your sacred, limited, beautiful time. I thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and do all those lovely things you wonderful people do. I'll see you next time.